The governor announces a plan to combat the opiate epidemic. An affordable housing complex in Hyannis will soon get an upgrade. And find out the latest in a plan to fix 2 water wells in town. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, June 23rd, 2015. I'm Sarah Mannel. Governor Baker announces his plan to combat the opiate epidemic plaguing Massachusetts. The plan makes 65 recommendations that include educational prevention programs, increasing treatment beds, and setting aside $27 million to fund the programs. Baker also stressed the need to treat addiction as a health issue like you would diabetes or heart disease. Renovations are planned for an affordable housing complex in Hyannis. The Community Preservation Committee approved spending $500,000 in community preservation funds to rehabilitate Founders Court. That area is located off of Route 28. Project manager Andrew Spotford talked about the work that will be completed during renovations.
The first and most glaring is just securing the physical envelope of the building. So the most significant deficiencies are that the building is basically oriented strand board plywood sheathing with vinyl siding over it, which is not an atypical way to build, but the original construction didn't include any kind of a vapor barrier or air barrier between the two, so that sort of wind-driven rain can infiltrate through the siding into the to the sheathing and potentially through the sheathing into the structure of the building, which is it's surprising that the buildings are not in worse shape than they are given that. So the rest of the envelope also needs to be addressed because the building's windows are at the end of their useful lives and the exterior doors need to be replaced. That scope of work is one of the biggest chunks of the hard cost budget in the project. But addressing them will put the property on a great footing to be stable long term. I think the plan is to remove all of the existing vinyl siding, to apply not only a vapor barrier but a layer of rigid insulation that will help the residents pay all of their utility bills, so it will reduce the heating bills as well as keeping the interior of the property secured from the elements, and covering that with a cementitious siding instead of vinyl, which is sturdier. So that's one basic big category of scope that needs to be addressed. The next is that the 3-bedroom units have a bedroom and a bathroom on the 3rd floor, sort of in the eaves of each of the buildings. The existing ventilation and light and emergency egress for those units is provided by a single skylight, which you can see pictured here. That would no longer comply with the code for emergency egress and for ventilation if you were building this building today. And so the proposal is to address that by putting in place in each of the units a large dormer, so you would have a normal sash window that would provide the requisite emergency egress, that would provide better ventilation, and that would be an option for residents who want to put in a window AC unit, which they currently can't do, and it gets pretty warm up there.
And the project will next go before Town Council for final approval. A project to fix 2 water wells in Barnstable is underway. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin gets the latest from DPW Director Dan Santos.
So a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. First, I wanted to get an update on those Mary Dunn well fields. What is the latest over there at Mary Dunn?
Okay, well, we are proceeding as we had planned, and that plan includes a couple of different approaches, and the primary thing being renting and installing carbon treatment units, 2 of them, to put on 2 of the 4 wells over there, and those units are expected to be delivered later this week, and And to be able to hook them up, we had to have a contract with a company to do the site preparation. Basically, these wells it's a pretty wooded area out there. We had to make room and pour a concrete pad, so these carbon units come in on a trailer, and then they can get put into place, and then all the connections had to be made so they're ready, and that work has all been done. So we're just waiting for these units, and then we'll go through a procedure to test them and sampling and make sure everything's working okay, and get them online before 4th of July and when we really have our big demand. And the other piece of our water plan here is to have a physical connection with the Town of Yarmouth Water Department. And we have been working very closely with our engineers in Town of Yarmouth and their engineers to engineer a connection. It's also going to be on private property, so we have to get some access agreements signed so we can put this line in. Now, it's going to be temporary. It's going to be an overland line, similar to what you see around town when we do water projects. We'll put a temporary line in. And the reason is because you can't have these in the winter. They obviously would freeze.
Exactly.
And the best way to get a quick connection is overland temporary. And actually, the Yarmouth Board of Selectmen meets tonight, and they'll be discussing a memorandum of agreement that we have drafted, and to see if they'll be willing at the selectmen level to agree to that. And then that's another thing completed, so that not only will we have our treatment of the water occurring, we'll also have water available to us from Yarmouth if it's needed. So
great.
It's all going well.
Good to know that is moving forward well. Of course, we are getting to the end of June and approaching that important 4th of July holiday. I know it's kind of the goal for that, the wrap up of spring road work. So how are we doing in terms of road work projects, and are we nearing the end of that phase? Yes,
our major road work projects are completed, and that's the repaving, or where we grind off the surface and repave, or reconstruction, for example, on Main Street in Katuitt, major project going on there to rebuild that road. They're wrapped up for the summer, and they'll finish in the fall. We had a number of roads, the last one being Kevaney Lane in Barnstable Village that we did a resurface on. The state gave us $300,000 this year for winter road repair money, and we have finished that work, which the evidence of that, and you see it around town, will be large patches of asphalt. So it's not pothole filling. We actually cut out the bad parts and then put in a 6 or 8 foot wide by whatever length patch, and those are a real nice treatment to repair those damaged areas. And one place notably is Osford West Barnstable Road. I think you can see a number of those, and so those will allow the road to have a lot longer life when you do it that way.
Exactly, I would think certainly more durable. I know I've seen some instances where you fill the pothole and then that just comes out after a little while. So.
Yeah, that happens mostly when we do it in the cold weather, because we're using what's called cold patch, and it doesn't when you use hot asphalt, it really forms homogeneous kind of patch and ties into what's there. With the cold patch, you're really just filling the hole, and as water gets in there or cars go over it, it can get squished out. But it's a temporary repair.
Great. The Conservation Commission meets tonight at 6:30 in the Town Hall hearing room, and the Waterways Committee meets at 7 in the Selectmen's Conference Room. We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we'll have our weekly golf segment. We'll learn more about the 4th of July parade in Hyannis, plus we'll find out all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.